Hello everybody and welcome to the opening of the EU-Africa, the post-crisis journey. My name is João. I'm going to be your host for the entire event. Together with me in the studio we have Mari.
Yes, my name is Mari Hanikart and I'm the CEO of Garage48 and I'm also one of the project leads of the EU-Africa journey and I have been helping to put this event together in the back there.
Yes, we're very excited to welcome everyone to this, what promises to be a very fantastic 3 days. We have put together a program that goes beyond just a normal hackathon. We have had the amazing support from a lot of institutions putting this event together, and we want to start by thanking everyone who was involved in the fantastic organization trying to put this event together. Mari, do you want to walk us through who helped you put this all together?
Yeah, for sure. So it's really is like a true European-African collaboration project, and all along the way, on top of like all the main partners, we also managed to gather, I think, approximately 100 community partners who helped us along the way and helped us to share the message. But the main initiators of this whole collaborations are African Union together with the Estonian Development Cooperation, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Then we have lots of development cooperations from all over Europe backing us up: Luxembourg, Polish aid, Irish aid, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Then we have the European Investment Bank, GIZ, and BNZ as well. And this whole event was put together, like the implementers, I'm still going to say our name as well, Garage48, and then Smart Africa. They helped us tremendously on framing the challenges and framing the content of the event.
Yes, and let's talk a little bit about what we have prepared for everyone watching at home. So together with the African Union, we have put together a program that is comprised of 11 different challenges where teams from all over Africa and all over Europe are going to be working. Fields such as education, food security, job security, vulnerable populations, health and wellness, financial services, big data, cybersecurity, digital economy, e-governance, and smart cities. These are the topics that are most relevant to the future of Africa, and they were carefully selected to make sure that the teams have a direction where they should work on their projects. Talking about teams, we have had a fantastic response to this event. We had over 2,000 registrations. Out of those, we picked the 300 best teams who are going to work for 72 hours on their problems, on their ideas. But together with those challenges and those ideas, we also prepared an incredible panel discussions.
Actually, I would like to interrupt you here. You forgot one very important thing. It really is like a truly a global thing. We managed to gather, I think, 93 countries, both from Europe, both from Africa, both of the continents covered, and some of the people also jumping to help from the other countries, from the other continents. So I think this is pretty impressive.
And it really shows the collaboration that we've had with our community partners, that we were able to gather all these teams from all across Africa and Europe. And we thought it would be a good idea to also, in parallel to what's happening with the hackathon, to put together a series of panel discussions following the same topics that are going to happen in the next following days. So the program is intense. The teams are going to work very hard on these problems. They're going to develop solutions in 72 hours that are going to help Africa as we walk out of this COVID pandemic. It really is going to highlight the collaboration between the two continents. And we really can't wait to see what the teams are going to be up to. Like we said, together with the hackathon, we have this parallel program of panel discussions. There is going to be broadcast live through Facebook to everyone watching at home, and it's absolutely free of charge for everyone. So a lot of interesting topics do follow what's coming up. And we are now at the opening session, which we are about to kick off soon. And in this opening session, we have a pretty amazing lineup, starting with the President of Estonia, Mr. Toni Elumelu, the Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy from the African Union, Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abu Zaid. We have the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia, Urmas Reinsalu. We have the Director General of Smart Africa, Lacina Kone, and we have the African Union's Youth Envoy, Aya Chebi. They will give you their welcoming words in a minute. And to kick things off, I just want to see that everything is set and in place. We're going to start with the first panel discussion very soon. But Mari, why don't you tell us a little bit about the starting of this program? When did it start and how did it begin?
Yes, I can start, but it's a long story. Do we have that much time at the moment? All right, it started all actually in May when we kicked off from Estonia with a Hack the Crisis program, or online hackathon series. And very quickly, the whole world picked up, and we had, I think, approximately 100 events popping up all across the world, all tackling the COVID-19 and the problems the problems that suddenly appeared due to the COVID-19 crisis. And after that, one representative of Estonian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Tanel Zapp in Ethiopia currently, he thought that it would be a super good idea to organize also something global in both continents, in Africa and Europe, and that's where the ball started rolling. We spent the summer actually bouncing the concept back and forth, and we managed to get lots of partners on board, and that's how it slowly happened.
Yeah, and now we are at the moment where the hackathon is about to begin. We have all the teams eagerly waiting for the beginning, and we have also, through our community partners, managed to gather an insane amount of mentors who are ready to help the teams. So that's also going to be something of extreme value to these teams who are potentially, many of them, starting their entrepreneurial journey. But I would like to now go to the opening panel, where we're going to be welcomed by two very high dignitary speakers, the President of Estonia, Kersti Kaljulaid, who I believe is joining us live from Finland, and Toni Elumelu, who should also be joining us shortly. Let's just see that we have everything set.
Yeah.
While we wait for that connection, maybe...
Do you want me to tell something else?
Yeah. Yes.
Actually, I think the panelists are on already. Yes, just a moment. I think we can't really take that valuable time from that short panel. So I think we have the President of Estonia here.
President of Estonia is joining us. So Kersti Kaljulaid is the fifth and current President of Estonia. She is a supporter of non-restrictive legal space for the ongoing digitization of economies and governments. She's also an active promoter of sustainability and halting climate change. President, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. So as a leading digital nation, Estonia has made significant advancements to the life of its citizens over the past few years. But what are some of the key aspects that you have learned and that you can share with other nations when it comes to trying to bridge the digital divide?
Well, first and foremost, we must make sure that people have equal access to the digital world. And for us, when this transformation started here in Estonia, we declared access to internet as a human right. Well, not in the legal text, but mentally. And we made sure that there was plenty of government-provided internet access points, because we are talking about the time 20 years ago and people didn't have computers at home at that time. Second element, which was very important for us, was that we wanted people all to have the possibility to participate in the new digital world, which means that when we created Estonian Universal Digital ID, which indeed is already one generation old, if I now start thinking about it, then this digital ID was attached to our identification card, which we also use as travel card within the European Union. So immediately, even if not, of course, everybody knew how to use this digital device, they had it. 100% of Estonian citizens had it. That was very important. That was the starting point for inclusivity. And then we cooperated together with the private sector to make sure that people have incentives to try and test digital services online. Because if we only had gone through this route, that there will be digital tax board and digital social service, well, people don't use these services often enough to get used to them. But if your online bank runs on the same device, using the same tools, this digital ID, you get used to it. And then in addition, private sector, which was rather impatient to get all Estonians inclusively to use digital services, offered some of their services online free. If you went to the bank office, you paid. If you used online banking, it was free. If you were from the group which was not kind of very much interested in using online services, for example, a retired person. This is how we trained our people to participate in the digital sphere.
Thank you very much for that. And I think you mentioned a very important aspect, which is the collaboration between the public and the private sector. So I would also like to take a moment now to introduce the second panelist that we're going to have on the opening session, Mr. Tony Elumelu. He is one of Africa's leading investors and philanthropists. He is the chairman of the Pan-African Financial Services Group, the United Bank for Africa. Tony is the most prominent champion of entrepreneurship in Africa. In 2010, he created the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which is a Pan-African philanthropy that's empowering a new generation of African entrepreneurs, catalyzing economic growth, driving poverty eradication and job creation across all 54 African countries. Most recently, he was voted among the top 100 influential persons of 2020 by Time magazine. Mr. Elumelu, let me put it to you. Africa is the youngest continent with an average population of 20 years old. How can we empower this digital generation on the first steps they're taking towards their entrepreneurial journey?
Well, thanks for organizing this event and inviting our foundation to be part of it. And Her Excellency, guest Kajula, my pleasure to meet you. And I found your intervention very interesting. For us at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we have been empowering young entrepreneurs since the founding of the foundation in 2010. And our experience is that these young entrepreneurs, these young Africans are very entrepreneurial, very hardworking, energetic. What they need is to get a platform to take off. And so I see the first major support for these digital natives as being able to give them the opportunity, either financial opportunity, or give them a hub, a center where they can actually put to practice their creativity, their ingenuity. Most of these young people have great ideas. At times, these ideas don't amount to anything if you don't have the opportunity to practice them. We have seen across Africa, even during this pandemic how these entrepreneurs are transforming their communities, changing lives through their digital innovation. And I think this is the way to go. And that is why at the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we identify with this type of event, your organization.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Elumelu. Let me put it to both of you. COVID-19 has made 2020 a pretty remarkable year, but not all things were bad. It also ushered in a digital transformation to many people who were reluctant to embrace it. Governments, companies, even citizens were forced to embrace this digital transformation. We're trying to end this year with a positive note by organizing this event. As we look to 2021 with a vaccine on the horizon, what are some of the ways that you think life will not go back to normal?
Well, it is indeed very interesting that you cannot say, and you kind of feel you don't want to say thanks to the pandemic. But in this case, you have to say that thanks to the pandemic, governments and employers and companies had to face up to the fact which they could have known before, but probably didn't want to know. And this is that already 1/3 of the jobs, at least in middle income and developed nations, can be done without rendering yourself into the office, without going anywhere. What does this mean? This means that 1/3 of the jobs could be on the global labor market. They don't need to be restricted to one country or one labor market, like, for example, European Union. People can technically take part of working in wherever, from wherever. And even if you were previously telling these things that this is going on, take a look. People were very often responding, but this is a marginal issue. All of a sudden, we know this is not the marginal issue. This is 1/3 of our workforce already. And there is, progress possible. It is quite easy to imagine that if we take our industrial production chains apart, it will become part services and part trade, part goods, actually. There will be, for example, design services. There will be services which deal with the handicraft-made parts of the goods which need to be delivered. All these things can be done far away, and the physical parts of the industry shipped in or actually printed in the closest factory which has the necessary 3D printers. This is how our world is changing. And it is as big change as from agricultural economy to industrial economy. We have to recognize this, and we have to make use of this, and we shouldn't fall back, because actually here is a golden opportunity for more equal distribution of the resources globally. We have long been seeking solutions which would help people to work in a gainful employment without maybe too much moving from their home, because it's dangerous, it's not always very pleasant, you have to change climate zones. Now they don't have to move. Of course, the world is full of administrative restrictions to make sure that this will never happen, this bright new world, if we go back to the business as usual. But if we keep what we saw in mind, and if we do not give in to this urge of let's go back to business as usual as soon as we all vaccinated, then all which we will end up with will be a lot of empty office blocks and people happily working from afar, maybe not even in the same town, in the same country, on the same continent. This is the future we might have if we keep in mind there were positive trends.
Mr. Elumelu, your thoughts on how things might not go back to normal?
Yeah, I think I shared this personal experience with you. In January of this year, our HR community came together, had a look into the future, and proposed that we should begin to think of how to work smart and have some people, a situation where people can work out of their homes and not necessarily being physically present. Some of us just thought they were speaking a different language. This was January this year, and just fast track to March, and the pandemic and things changed. That for months we were on serious lockdown, and most of us were working from homes, and I dare say even more. I think we were more productive working out of our respective homes. So things have changed, and things might never come back to the same again. Efficiency level, productivity level has improved significantly. And it's not only in the workplace. We've seen this in different sectors. The world has suddenly realized how interconnected we all are. We've seen how, because of lockdown, airlines have collapsed. So many things have changed. Hospitality sector has been very badly hit. And so it's really questioning a lot of things and making us realize new things. That multilateralism is the way to go now. We need to cooperate. If something affects, not just like a China flu, something that started in China is affecting everyone in the world. So we're beginning to see the need for global cooperation and collaboration. In Africa, through our experience, the Tunde Melu Foundation and the Young African Entrepreneurs, we've seen great entrepreneurs or people who have started very well hit by COVID. We're all trying now to see how we can work together to help support them to rebuild. So things can't be the same again. We used to say that health is wealth, but we didn't understand this very well until the pandemic. We've seen how the pandemic has affected businesses, all of us feeling it. So going forward, it's a new world, it's a new realization that we need to take certain things much more seriously than we ever did before. And all I can say, linking it to the conversation we're having, we have seen the impact, the transformative impact of technology much more than ever before. We've seen Zoom. Zoom was like a company you didn't even know prior to the pandemic. It's become a multi-billion-dollar company today. And so to the young global citizens and digital natives, this is your time. The world has now realized more than ever before the importance of this new digital revolution. Everyone is waiting for you to take advantage of it, lead the way, show us, create the new future, so we'll follow you. That is, for me, the greatest message to our young ones, to say the future ahead of you is enormous. You don't need to convince any one of us about the power of technology. We all have seen it, and take advantage of it and change the world and make the world a better place.
Obviously, the people participating in this hackathon are all, leaning towards the very young and very digitally enabled. But I think President Kersti Kaljulaid mentioned in her opening words about the digital divide. And I wanted to ask both of you, this COVID situation where people are forced to use digital tools and are forced towards this digital environments where they might not be ready, does it risk making that gap between those who are able and those who are to grow bigger? In the case of Estonia was very well placed, because of all the tools and the groundwork that had been laid to be ready for when this change happens. But is there a risk for nations that are less prepared that this transformation in such a quick, short amount of time might widen that gap? Your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. There is this risk. It is very hard from Estonia, to advise other countries on how to manage this risk, because after all, we have people who are now 70 who were 50 when Estonia started to go digital. So as a side effect of being somehow coerced by the government and the private sector to use digital services, Estonians who are of retirement age are also able to use Facebook and all other tools. Our grandmothers are relatively Facebook compatible, so they have felt less alone, less lonely even during these pandemics. And we entered the dangerous world of internet when it was still safe enough. I mean, you may have occasionally had a virus or two and then you downloaded Kaspersky and everything was cleared up. So don't expect from me an advice on how to handle now and how to bring the inclusivity into the digital world now. Estonians would not know it. Estonians have been too long already part of the digital world. But what we can say from Estonia is that definitely you have to do it together, private sector and public sector. You have to have a common understanding that you truly want to give your country a digital core, which we call X-Road. It is a platform on which everybody, all entities, government entities, citizens, and also companies come together. It consists of an identification tool, the digital ID. And if you enter the system with digital ID, the state takes responsibility that you are you. Similarly, as in the analog world, state takes responsibility giving you the passport, proving that you are you. And then people know that within this encrypted channel, they know with whom they are acting and transacting. All transactions in Estonia can go through this system. It is safe and it is secure. For the rest of the internet, the Estonian government do not take any responsibility. So our citizens know that there is the safe ecosystem if you are signed in with your digital ID, and then there is the rest. My advice is for states who want to migrate to these digital platforms more, try to achieve something similar in a way that they have a single system, a common platform which everybody can use. Not that there is a government platform and then there are the private sector various platforms and so on. Because people simply have a limited ability to grasp this new digital world. It has to be as simple as possible. And this is how we believe it can be made as simple as possible. A single system, digital ID guaranteed by the state, and safe internet space, which is within this digital ID realm. The rest of the internet is the responsibility of those who are providing the rest of the internet. But we take responsibility for the government.
Mr. Elumelu, your thoughts on this issue? I think we had some technical difficulties with the president. Your thoughts on this digital divide and how the pandemic might have made things, made that gap wider?
No, I think what just happened speaks to this digital divide issue. Well, listen, I live in Africa, Nigeria precisely, and a few years ago, I think just about under 15 years ago, telephone connectivity access in Nigeria was very poor. We had less than 100,000 Nigerians who had access to the telephone. And so during the GSM revolution, some of us were quite worried how GSM companies will invest massively in this part of the world and make money. Then we saw a difference. Something happened, something shocking happened. We saw the rise, the telcos started operating in Nigeria. Before we knew it, millions of subscribers, 5 million, and today we have a country of 200 million people. Over 120, 30 million people have subscribed and use it actively. The issue is the world, people are ready to embrace this digital revolution. The challenge in most developing countries is the issue of infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, the connectivity issue, the data availability. So what we all need to do as a global world, realizing today the interconnectedness of the world, realizing that anything that happens anywhere affects every one of us, is, as President Kessie said, bring resources, pull resources together. Let's create the bandwidth, the internet access that will lead and usher in the new revolution. No one should be left out at all. No one should be left out. If anyone left out, is not going to be good for the world. I am part of President Macron's movement in France. It's called Tech for Good. And some of us have argued that it's tech for good, but also it should be tech for all. Technology is good, but we must make sure that there is accessibility by everyone and affordability. That should be the global goal. In fact, to me, it should be incorporated in the SDG, the development goal of the world, the UN, to make access for digital access very important for everyone. At the Tony Elumelu Foundation, we long realized this, and we've tried to create an ecosystem and, in fact, a digital platform for African entrepreneurs. It's called TF Connect. TF Connect brings young African entrepreneurs together. It's over 1 million people on that platform today and growing, because we realize that this is one of the one of the things we need to provide for young African entrepreneurs to enable them realize their full potential. So the digital divide fear is there. The pandemic, in my viewpoint, will help to even bridge it, and not because the world will is realizing now the need for all of us to come together. Technology is good, it's here to stay, and that we can see is the way to communicate in the 21st century post-COVID.
Now, thank you very much for those thoughts. I think both countries or both continents have something in common. If I remember correctly, Estonia was also able to leapfrog a few technologies when they were embracing some of the digital solutions. They were able to start from a clean slate and leapfrog some of those solutions. And I think the same thing is true in Africa, where you are able to leapfrog some of the more traditional approaches when it comes to, for example, banking or the telecommunications sector. Now with 4G technologies being able to cover large parts of the territory and making those digital services where people can interact with governments in a way that they couldn't previously. But I want to turn your attention to some of the topics that we're having at this event, at this hackathon. So we had proposed 11 different topics to the participants, and the two most active ones where there were more interest from the teams had to do with food security and with education. So I would like to talk a little bit about education, and obviously it has been a sector that, with the pandemic, suddenly a lot of students had to learn from home, learn from a distance. But a lot of opportunities were also there to transform how education is carried and the kind of skills that are needed in the 21st century. So do you have any learning points from Estonia's side or anything that you're doing with your foundation when it comes to educating a new workforce, educating people towards their own path of starting their own entrepreneurial journeys? Estonia clearly on the right path with 5 unicorns and more in the making, hopefully. So any learning points from that?
Yes, and we've known this for quite some time, that our children, when they go to school, their knowledge, be they 9 or 10 or 15, their knowledge, which in my generation used to be a function of their age, nowadays isn't only the function of the age, but much more also the function of their interests, because internet provides them with lots of learning tools and possibilities, which is not officially recognized as part of the learning process, which means that teachers in the school now grapple with kids who have very different command of the subjects. For example, if you take a class full of 9-year-old Estonian kids, then most of them speak English. None of them can write, and some do not recognize that some spoken words which they find online are actually rude and not to be used. You cannot take the textbook for this class and teach the whole class the same way. So teaching is replaced by supported learning, and you have to kind of privatize. You have to give individual tasks to do. And all this can only again be done with the help of technology, which then brings us to something which you probably haven't thought about, but it doesn't mean that you need to teach children technology. They learn technology like we learned social relations from the childhood by little interactions like going to the shop, handing over the money, getting back money, arguing if it was not the correct amount, these things. Our children now can go through the life with far less human interactions, which means that we need to teach them instead to be compassionate human beings. Right from the kindergarten, in digital society, you have to teach children on how to get along in the world fulfilled with other people. Technology, they learn more or less by themselves. For our generation, it was vice versa. This is a radical shift, and we need not to leave the social side of the change aside. We need to pay great attention to that as well. How to be a compassionate human being.
Mr. Elumelu, in your case, I think the foundation's main goals also are very much connected with education and entrepreneurship. Your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, I wear 2 hats. I wear the business hat and I wear the foundation hat. Let me start with the business hat. At the United Bank for Africa, which operates in over 20 countries in Africa with over 20 million customers, we have seen the impact of technology in supporting food security. There are communities during the pandemic in particular that had issues, difficulties in having access to food. But you know, we live in a world where you have charities and global institutions supporting people, supporting the poor ones. And through some technological advancement in payment systems, United Bank for Africa was able to support the World Food Program and Co. and help extend vouchers digitally to people in very, very remote, difficult environments, and we did able to improve their feeding. On the foundation side, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, what we do is, we try to catalyze entrepreneurship and in Africa. We try to provide economic, some financial support to people, but more importantly, we train people, and we do this digitally. We train hundreds. I think last year over 350,000 people we train digitally, and what we do, we call this like business education, because we realize that you might have capital, but if you don't know how to run businesses, you will not succeed. So this helps. You train 350 million people across the 54 African countries digitally. You put information out there, you help them. And so it's a new way of learning. It's a new way of learning, democratizing learning for majority of young African entrepreneurs. And I think this is something the world can leverage on. This is, in fact, would have no option again, because the pandemic has taught us that everyone doesn't have to be in the classroom. These are things that help to ease learning, and these are also methods that are opportunities for entrepreneurs. And we have seen some of our entrepreneurs begin to pivot into this area, to seek opportunity, to take advantage of opportunities in helping to train digitally. We have a key experience with some of our entrepreneurs who are training now online, and I think that the biggest challenge remains this issue of the digital infrastructure, and that is why all of us need to help, especially for developing countries, to improve the access to technology. I think that it is the way to go. I think that all of people are embracing it, people are ready to embrace it, but the biggest challenge that is we need to find a solution to that. Entrepreneurship opportunities exist in the education space. Food security is becoming a new challenge to the world, but I think that with concerted efforts of everyone, especially development partners who can make a difference. Africa, for instance, has a lot of arable land, and people are ready, to go the extra length to grow food that the world needs. But issue remains the kind of support they need to translate this to actual outcome that will help to feed the world. So I look forward again to seeing how digital innovations, technological advancement can help every one of us improve access to education, improve access to food, help grow more food so that the issue of food security in the world can be addressed. And I think the young entrepreneurs we interact with through the Tony Elumelu Foundation hold a lot of promise for the world in this area.
Thank you very much for that. I will try to end the panel, but before we do that, I would like to just hear from you a little bit something for the participants. We have over 2,000 young, motivated participants who are going to be working for 72 hours. If the pandemic has also shown us anything, is that we are more connected than ever, that we are facing the same challenges together, and we have managed to get teams working across different continents, across different teams. So I would really welcome some words from your side to encourage the teams on their 72 hours for the work that they're going to be doing.
I would say try to use in this coming together as many cultural differences what you can bring to the table, because these are probably our biggest differences. These are the biggest variables of the teams. And creativity is always unleashed if you take the aspects where we are not the most similar, but the aspects where we really differ, and bring these aspects to the common ground. So that would be my suggestions. Be proud of who you are, where you come from, and what is your background experience. This way, the results will definitely be better. Good luck with creating this new first ever European African common unicorn, baby.
Mr. Elimelu, some last words?
Yes. First is you should make friends. We need this friendship, Africa, EU, and it holds a lot of promise for mankind. 2 is try to learn from one another. This having 2,000 hot digital heads together, there's a lot that you can learn. You can forge lifelong partnerships out of this. I preach this a lot, and it's one of the reasons we created the TF Connect, to create platform for people to network, meet each other, and that is what this moment presents all of you. And finally, I want to say to you all that the future of the world is in your hands. The world awaits your innovation, because that we have seen is a way to go. We need more Zuckerbergs out of you. We need more Steve Jobs out of you. If we don't have 5, you guys have not done well enough. Congratulations, and keep the hope alive.
On behalf of all the organizing team and Garage48, I would really like to thank both President Kersti Kaljulaid and Mr. Tony Elimelu for joining us on this opening panel. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Excellency.
So after that fascinating opening panel, it's time to move on with our agenda. And we're going to move now to Her Excellency, Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, who is an international development expert with an extensive knowledge of Africa, both at the strategic and the operational levels. Currently, she is the Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission. She has a PhD in social economic development from the University of Manchester, but she's also fluent in Spanish, French, Arabic, and English. Sadly, I can only speak English with her, but Dr. Abu Zaid, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to greet everyone here present and thank Her Excellency, President of Estonia, and the Estonian government, all our partners, all our youth, for inviting me to share this precious and important event and moment with all of you. COVID-19 crisis, it has caused lots of damages worldwide, whether it's lives or livelihoods. Africa, for us in Africa, we were particularly hard hit. For the first time in decades, our economies is slowing considerably, and the development gains that we have done over or acquired over almost 2 decades are now practically or seriously at risk. This is very dangerous, especially in a continent that is growing and growing fast, in which, youth represent almost 70% of its population. Earlier this year, in February 2020, at the African Union, the African heads of states and governments approved for the first time a digital transformation strategy for the continent, having critical sectors such as digital health, digital education, digital financial services, digital governance, as well as cross-cutting areas such as cybersecurity and the development of digital content and so on and so on. Therefore, Now, the massive move to online services and platforms under the pandemic underscores the need to put in place measures that would ensure also inclusiveness by creating appropriate enabling environment and eliminating barriers for accessing broadband internet, as Tony just said, and protecting children and vulnerable population online. So our strategy, it was, I mean, I know that, and I'm sure all the audience knows that Africa has been experiencing lots of progress when it comes to digitalization. However, this progress was not uniform. It was not across the 55 countries or across all sectors. So what we really wanted, we wanted a harmonized approach to digitalization that would see the whole continent, leapfrog together. Now, more than ever before, this digital transformation strategy is important, and its implementation is crucial, especially knowing that the lives that we, or the way our lives is being conducted now, and our businesses have been transformed due to this pandemic. Now, another implication of or observation due to the pandemic is that it presented an opportunity for both the African Union and the European Union to reaffirm the pertinence of our partnership and the relevance of the priority areas that we had already defined or identified 3 years ago. I'm talking about investing in people-centered development, education, science, technology, and skills, strengthening resilience and governance, mobility, mobilizing investments for African structural sustainable transformation. So the pandemic kind of re-emphasized the importance of these priorities and the need to accelerate or expedite or fast track their implementation. Now, I'm grateful for the Estonian government for their continuous efforts in supporting Africa and Europe in mobilizing also the EU and AU tech communities to identify innovation solutions to our challenges in Africa, especially the ones that have been deepened by COVID-19 crisis. Hence, I very much welcome this hackathon, and delighted to welcome the organization of the Africa-European online hackathon that is being launched today to explore practical solutions to help us in true partnership to help Africa, recover better and recover fast. It is important, however, to underscore the necessity of not confining ourselves to a single hackathon, but let us aspire to achieving real impact with a robust follow-up mechanism that would allow us to scale up the best prototypes emanating from the hackathon into marketable propositions that could benefit the African and European citizens alike. To this end, I would like to call upon our partners to work towards setting up a sustainable and holistic program and a plan of action involving, among other things, putting in place measures for creating favorable conditions for our young women and men in the two continents to innovate, to develop, to build products and applications with the aim of addressing urgent needs of their communities. And we've just seen a wonderful example in the great work Tony Ilmelo is doing himself and his foundation. So again, special thanks to our European partners and maybe special thanks also to Finland, Ireland, Luxembourg, and Poland. I don't want to forget anybody, as well as the main implementing partners, Garage48 and Smart Africa, our Smart Africa. Finally, I wish you all a highly productive event with tangible outcomes, results, and great success.
Thank you so much for those words, Dr. Amani Abu Zaid. If I may put it to you, I think you are absolutely right when we need that the ideas coming out of the hackathon have a follow-up program so that they can go somewhere. We will talk more about that follow-up program in the coming days, but there's something cooking to support the teams to continue through the continued supports of a lot of African incubators and accelerators. So there is that ambition to take these ideas further. But I wanted to put one question to you, if you have the time, which is very simply the topics that we have selected for this event were put together with the help of the African Union, and we have 11 topics. And for me, it was very interesting to see that the ones where there was most interest had to deal with education and food security. What does that tell you when it comes to the ambitions of the people in Africa about these two topics?
The ambitions and the concerns, because speaking of education, for instance, overnight almost, because it's almost within two weeks, all children have to be put online for education. Now, this is not a given. Maybe in other parts of the world, it's a given. Let us remember that only 40% or less, almost less than 40% of the continent is connected to the internet. And not all who are connected know how to use it. And that it's not free. On the contrary, it's very expensive, sometimes hundreds of times more than what is paid in other parts of the world. And the platforms or the countries may have not been ready at all. Some countries have. I know that in my own country, in Egypt, for instance, they have been ready, not for the COVID-19, but they have been developing this for 2 years, and everybody passes the year with little disruptions, let's say. But this is not a given, as I said. So this is one. Two, the platforms, so many platforms for education when they exist, so many of them across the continent at a time when we are calling for an African integration. So, and also an African identity. So these platforms are for the majority imported and maybe not suitable for our users. Last but not least, security of children online. We have been working and talking about cybersecurity and especially security of children for a long time. Now more than ever, our children are online 24/7. Not only now for gaming or chatting, but for education. So education, that's why with the hackathon, we thought we give higher priority for education, knowing that the pressing need and also the potential it can bring across the continent for those who, as I was really listening to Her Excellency, Madam President of Estonia, about how different online learning is different from real life learning, with lots of interest, because we need to change, and the world has changed. And if anybody thinks that we're going back, we're not going back. No one is going back. It's the world has changed for good over almost few weeks. So yes, food security. Of course, it is a very important topic, and digitalization brings lots of innovative ways of addressing the issue of food security, agricultural food security. So we thought that it is important that maybe we benefit from our youth and the European youth putting their heads together and coming up with the ideas that can help us address food security. I'm sure, yes, of course, we will benefit from it in our continents, but I'm sure it will be beneficial for the whole world.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Hamani Abu Zaid. Thank you also to the African Union for their continued support to what we're doing here and what we hope to do in the future. And thank you for your time to join us at the opening.
Thank you. It's been my utmost pleasure. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Look forward to seeing the results, the work, the applications, and please, I would hope that you would teach me how to use them. I would like to maybe. I'm not young anymore, but I would love very much to learn how to use them once they are developed.
Absolutely. Let's connect after the event and get you to watch the finals. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now it's time to move on with our next speaker and panelist. I'm pleased to introduce you Urmas Reinsalu, who is the Estonian foreign minister. He's an Estonian politician who has been a minister of foreign affairs since April 2019. Previously, Reinsalu has served as the Minister of Defense between 2012 and 2014 and Minister of Justice from 2015 to 2019. And I'm very pleased to welcome him in the studio. Please, Mr. Reinsalu.
Thank you. And hello to everybody around the globe. Excellencies, their partners, and above all, their African-European joint teams. Truly, welcome to the EU-Africa, the post-crisis journey hackathon. I'm truly pleased to open this unique event that showcases the true partnership between the two neighboring continents, Africa and Europe. And more than 2,000 participants from 93, can you imagine, 93 countries, and many of them ready to hack the most acute socio-economic challenges in African continents. All participants, equipped with their know-how and innovative thoughts, will put their minds together during the next few days to give birth to something new and valuable. This event would not have taken place without our partners. I'm really grateful to Her Excellency Dr. Hamani Abu Zaid, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy at the African Union Commission, for co-hosting this hackathon and for her kindest and most inspiring opening words. I wish to thank our contributing partners, Finland, Ireland, Luxembourg, Poland, and the European Investment Bank, as well as our community partners and all of you that have made this hackathon possible. I'm very excited that we have been able to successfully cooperate with Garage48 in partnership with the Smart Africa. The vast knowledge and experience have managed to get us where we are now. Most of all, I would like to thank the participants, you. Some teams were already composed before the event. Others joined someone else's team to show the seed of something potentially incredible with people you only met very recently. Besides the practical value of finding new solutions at this hackathon, there is also a political dimension to it. Both in the European Union as well as the African Union, we are committed to a stronger partnership between the two continents. And this hackathon is a hands-on functional manifestation of that. Digital solutions are the building blocks of today's society, and coronavirus has been a strong wake-up call, paradoxically, in this regard. The need to strengthen our digital readiness is evident in most of the countries and organizations. Estonia is keen to support this, as digitalization is a horizontal priority for our cooperation with partner countries. However, we know that the aim of digitalization is never digitalization itself. Digitalization can help tackle real societal and economic challenges. Digital solutions can enable green transition, create jobs, and empower youth, to name a few desired outcomes. And these solutions can be developed in an environment where equal access to information and privacy protection are in place. Estonia is determined to support innovative initiatives, and we have funded several hackathons around the world to bring together the bright minds of our countries. So I believe that every participant and every team here has a story to tell. You all have a story to tell. After all, Every digital solution is driven by a story. Perhaps some of you witnessed something that made you realize the need for a change. The EU-Africa, the Post-Crisis Journey Hackathon is an event where these stories can be told and changes can be made. It is an opportunity momentum. More precisely, African-European joint teams will come up with creative ideas to support, among others, the educational and food systems, create sustainable jobs, support health and well-being, enhance digital economy, e-governance and financial services, give opportunities to vulnerable populations, make cities smarter, etc. You know better than anyone why and how your ideas were born and why they need to be realized. We are here to listen, to take note, to think and work with you and to help you on your path. I would like to wish all the participants inspirational ideas, strength and patience. And I especially wish that this hackathon becomes a platform for you to write the next digital chapters to your stories with the help of your teammates. By developing digital solutions, you will contribute to a much bigger story, the global story as well. I'm looking forward to reading it. I am convinced that this hackathon will bring together digital authors from Europe and Africa, not just for the next 3 days, but will also create strong partnerships for the future. So, good luck to you, everybody, and remain healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Urmas Reinsalu. If I may put it to you, obviously the pandemic has had a lot of transformation in many, many different sectors. In many cases, it has, brought countries with closing of borders to make sure the virus doesn't spread, but it has also, in a way, brought us closer together. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, how do you see the outlook looking at 2021 now that we're doing, this hackathon collaborating between Europe and Africa? Is the world getting more open or more closed?
I think also it is a very paradox thing. I have told also to my colleagues, foreign ministers from all continents, that paradoxically the level of contacts, although we can't meet each other physically, but the level of contacts has risen significantly, because indeed there is a feeling of solidarity all around the globe as we are facing these harsh times, and also the technical possibilities have now turned to be a real life. All the Zoomings, all the video conferences, events like this today. So this is something we are seeing on our eyes, how the world is, or the future is made by weeks, by months. And so it's very inspiring, truly, also. And this is a little bit balances all the painful sides of this coronavirus time.
Yes, so in that sense, looking at the future ahead and some of the teams that are going to be starting their journey here, do you think that there is support and a home for some of these teams to continue their entrepreneurial journey in Estonia and in Europe?
No doubt about that. The fortunes are made, so good luck to become an innovative business leader to make good business in future. And what I believe is actually we are arranging also together with United Arab Emirates as physical expo has been postponed for a year. So we are making a digital summit, particularly also how to tackle the coronavirus by business, different business concepts. So I think there is a vast space of very innovative business models because coronavirus will leave, but the need also by distance, for example, distance learning, for example, also e-medicine, different public services which could be created and delivered in a more wider scope, taking into consideration the digital solutions. I think these times give a momentum also to differing and out-of-box business ideas.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of Garage48 and all the organizers, we would really deeply like to thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs for all their continued support, not just for this program, but a lot of things that Garage48 does around the world. And obviously now with these digital tools, the impact we can have with events like this becomes tenfold. So thank you very much for your continued support.
Thank you.
All right, it's time now to move on also with the program, and I'm very pleased to introduce the next panelist, the next speaker, Mr. Lacina Kone. He's the Director General of Smart Africa since March 2019. He's a professional of the ICT industry with over 25 years experience in the telecommunications, satellite, and intelligent transport system. Prior to that, he was the advisor to the Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire for digital transformation and public reforms. He also served as an advisor to the president from 2011 to 2018. Mr. Lacina Kone, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Please, sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. Distinguished participant, on behalf of Smart Africa Alliance, it's my great pleasure to participate in this opening address of the EU Africa, the Post-Crisis Journey Hackathon, organized by Garage48. I would like to say a special thanks to Her Excellency, the President of Estonia, and Mr. Tony Elumelu, the Chairman Founder for Tony Elumelu Foundation. Also to my sister, Her Excellency Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, who is the Commissioner of Infrastructure and Energy at African Union, as well as the Honorable Urmas Resalu, the Estonian Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs. Let me start by first congratulating Garage48 for this outstanding initiative. That's really appreciated. The theme of EU Africa, the post-crisis journey, is a very strategic discussion to us at Smart Africa. The onset of the COVID-19 presented a unique opportunity to pivot and leap forward on the digital transformations of Africa with a focus on all the sectors ranging from health to education, finance, business, transportation, etc. As part of the short-term tactical effort, the Secretariat of Smart Africa shared a technical response pack with our governments, regulators, and partners, just like the AUC, ITU, and the Broadband Commission, that aim at supporting our African government response to the challenge of the coronavirus pandemic. On a longer-term basis, the Secretariat identified 4 strategic initiatives with the focus on creating an all-inclusive, sustainable, and transformative digital highway in accordance with the African Union Commission digital transformation strategy that my sister, Dr. Amani, spoke about. Action one of those is to reduce the cost of the broadband services by at least 50% through a bulk capacity purchase that we call Internet Affordability Project. The action number 2 is to promote digital literacy of decision makers and mainstream ICT education through the Smart Africa Digital Academy. Action 3 is to promote the implementation of Giga Africa Initiative and create an enabling environment to make smart devices for education affordable and accessible for Generation X. Action 4 is to establish a robust network of interconnected Africa through the Intra-Africa Connectivity Program. I'm happy and privileged to announce that on Monday, 7th of December 2020, the Smart Africa Board, composed of head of the state and partners, formally adopted all these 4 actions listed above, during its 9 board meeting. The implementation of this initiative will systematically reduce the economic and health impact of the current and future pandemic, and most importantly, empower the continent for a digital leap forward. In addition to the above, The vision of Smart Africa Alliance is to develop, of course, a single digital market by 2030, thereby enabling a vibrant African digital economy. We at Smart Africa Secretariat are cognizant of the urgent need to accelerate the development of African digital economies post COVID-19 crisis. Smart Africa Secretariat has developed a practical roadmap for true digital integration in Africa and have outlined three strategic objectives. Objective number one is to build affordable digital infrastructure to interconnect the continent. And strategic objective number two is to promote and facilitate doing business and investing across Africa. Strategic number three is to accelerate the birth of and development of a digital literacy. So, towards achievement of the above objectives, the board has also formally adopted four additional Smart Africa blueprints, namely the Smart Broadband 2025, led by Republic of Senegal, which has an objective of increasing broadband penetration by 50% by 2025. And now also the Digital Identity Blueprint for Africa, championed by Republic of Benin. Also, the Startup Act, which is a startup and innovation ecosystem project spearheaded by the Republic of Tunisia. And the last one is the Smart Village Blueprint, led by the Republic of Niger. The implementation of these blueprints in 2021 with a concrete project throughout our member state will contribute to the acceleration of Africa's digital economy post-COVID crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, the post-crisis digital transformation journey in Africa has presented new unprecedented challenges. We need an equally unprecedented mobilization of our talent and capacity. One of the main lessons we draw from this crisis is the need for an enhanced collaborations between the public and the private sector, between government and innovation SMEs and startups, research centers at the national level, regional level, and continental level, and cross-continental level to raise the resiliency of our economy and society. I'm delighted to note that the solution proposed here are from the very areas that Africa needs to leapfrog through digital solutions, namely education, food security, job security, financial services, big data, cybersecurity, smart cities, digital economy, and e-governance. Allow me to use this opportunity to congratulate all of our startups here that have repurposed their assets to offer solutions in the above mentioned area. Thank you all for being part of this great cause for both our continent. It's the key to understand that there will be no going back to the previous world. Government and public authorities will continue to pursue fruitful, strong strategical partnership with innovative players from the ecosystem to enhance their performance in delivering public services to over more demanding connected citizens in Africa like in Europe. Smart Africa is connected to act as a catalyzer for the socio-economic development of Africa by supporting the valuable work done in the ICT ecosystem between both our continents. I wish you a successful hackathon, and I look forward to the brilliant ideas that will come out of this initiative by Garage48 team. Be assured that you have all our utmost support going forward. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lachine Kone. If I may put it to you a question, in her opening speech this afternoon, the President of Estonia, Kersti Kaljulaid, mentioned that we need to build the infrastructure in a way that it is inclusive, and I want to put it to you as well. You outlined a very good plan for Smart Africa, and I think you hit all the right notes when it comes to the plan looking forwards. But the COVID has ushered in a lot of this disruption and digital transformation to people who might not be ready for it right away. So when you look at this digital divide, the gap that exists in Africa, Do you think that this pandemic has made it worse or not? And what can we do about it, even for some of the teams that are working on their ideas right now? How can we make sure that some of those teams are working on solutions that are inclusive and take into account the existing digital divide?
Thank you very much for the questions. And in fact, the pandemic has not made the situation worse in terms of connectivity in Africa, because the first things when the pandemic hit back in January, February, Smart Africa developed a COVID response pack, and we shared it with the Broadband Commission, ITU, and African Union, and so on and so forth, as well as our member state, what to do. In those COVID responses, there was a lot of recommendations. Some of them was like zero in, zero out the educational website. Second of all, to actually promote, to reduce licensing fee for MNOs, the mobile network operators who are providing an ISP, who are providing connectivity. And if you look at the use of the internet today, first of all, before the COVID, you have to realize for the past between 2015 and 2019, Africa grew about 45% compounded annual growth rate in terms of internet growth. So this growth continue even during the COVID, and even the post-COVID, it will continue. What really happened is like COVID right now became a springboard for Africa to be able to do the leapfrog other continent, because of the lack of the connectivity. A lot of students today are sitting home. These are the rural area which are not connected. So in our broadband strategy that I talked about, the flagship project Broadband Strategy 2025, that has identified exactly what we need to do in terms of connectivity in a rural area, even in urban area. That's one. Start as broadband penetration. The intra-Africa connectivity will allow all the African country to have a connection with their neighbor. So it will put the pressure on the cost of the internet on the landlocked country, even on the subsea level as well. So the one that I talk about, which is internet affordability, very important, that our head of the state in the last board meeting in Monday, they adopted that they will reduce internet affordability by 50%. How is that done actually? It is actually to come together and buy a bulk capacity in a big amount for a longer period of time commitment. What does that actually do? It will reduce 46% the internet usage gap. What do I mean by that? If you know there are 49% usage gap in Africa, it means the service of the connectivity is there, but the internet is not being used. One, because it's so expensive. Two, because of the lack of smart devices. Three, because of the lack of the content in the context of Africa. So we are addressing each of these elements one by one. So this is really a strategic solutions, not a tactical solution. The tactical solution was where we advise different regulators in our government to be able to what to do to face the COVID.
Kone, I want to thank you on behalf of Garage48 and all the organizers of this event and this hackathon for your continued support, and also for whatever the outcomes might be for this event and how Smart Africa might collaborate with these solutions. So thank you very much to you and to Smart Africa.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
And now it's time to move to our next speaker at this opening session. I'd like to introduce to you Aya Chebi. She is a Pan-African activist, a Tunisian diplomat and feminist. She became the first appointed African Union envoy on youth in November 2018, as the youngest senior official in the history of the African Union and the youngest diplomat in the chairperson's cabinet. She is a passionate advocate for women's rights, human rights and youth empowerment. Aya Chebi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Super. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I apologize, I'm not able to use my video because I don't actually have electricity at the moment. I'm using my phone 3G, and it's probably ironic, you know, it's a testimony of the challenges we're facing. It's not just talking about it, but it's real. But nevertheless, I was really honored to hear Her Excellency, the President of Estonia, Tony Lemelou, the AU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, who is our youth champion for digital transformation on the continent. I also just heard Smart Africa Director General. So this has been really inspiring. And many thanks to Estonian Minister and the government for this wonderful initiative. I'm actually excited about this initiative because we have been very vocal as African youth on the need to redefine or reimagine the future of European African partnership as a partnership that centers youth agency and creates space for young people to have conversation, to innovate, to collaborate, and to provide creative young minds of Africa and Europe to learn from each other and as equal partners, and also challenge each other to do things differently. So I think today is the start probably of this powerful, authentic platform. What I wanted to share probably today is more of the state of African youth during the pandemic, because the pandemic showed us that no one is safe until everyone is safe. There is a little bit of echo. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you fine.
So I was saying that the pandemic really showed us how global we really are and how interconnected, but it also showed us the face of global inequality. So as much as both Europe and Africa were affected by the pandemic, for African youth, COVID-19 is not as much of a health crisis as much of a socio-economic crisis. So education disruption, job loss, and it's a matter of really day-to-day survival for African youth. And it also showed us the nature of communication and business digitalized. So every business that was forward thinking, being online, is doing well, and those who didn't are suffering or lost their jobs. And most of those are young people in the informal sector. We actually published last month a policy paper on African Youth Agency challenges and COVID-19 recovery roadmap. And they all agreed. We had about 54 consultations with 6,000 young Africans, and they all agreed that digital divide is real and unfair for the continent, because we didn't mitigate that we'd be hit with such pandemic. So we look at Africa and we see 70% of our population offline. 460 million of us have a phone. And according to the Economic Commission for Africa, only 120 million of us have a phone that actually has access to internet. And out of those, only 60 million have the internet, and only 48 million of us have stable, regular internet at affordable prices. So we can see that from 460 million with a mobile, we end up with 70% of us offline. And I think that is where the issue is, the issue of accessibility, affordability, as also the previous speaker mentioned. And then we have 51% of Africa without electricity or reliable source of energy. Our commissioner, Dr. Amani Abu Zaid, always says, with no energy, there is no digitalization across all sectors. So I think we need to first recognize that those who are disconnected can be invisible outside of this radius of digital revolution. And most of those are vulnerable youth. They are youth in rural areas, in informal settlements. They are refugee, displaced youth. They are youth with disability. They are young women and girls. So those of us who have this access then have a huge responsibility and opportunity to make a difference. And I think those of us are you, the young people listening to us, the young people who are in this online hackathon, because the digital space is a youth space. Now COVID-19 forced everyone to kind of transition to our space. Young Africans actually are the majority online. Just like ironically, we are the majority offline. We are 65% of Africa's population under the age of 30. So, you know, offline in our countries, we mostly didn't create the rules. We are products of systems created by others. But in the digital space is different for us. We create the rules of engagement because the online space empowered our generation, when we did not have the voice outside of the online space. So I think we have a great opportunity of creativity and using this space that we feel empowered by, a space where there is no visas, where borders collapse, where we can innovate and we can imagine everything possible. So for me, it's a challenge, but also there are endless opportunities. We just need the private and public sectors and partners to really accelerate digital transformation and to really invest in the digital infrastructure to crash internet prices, to create the enabling environment, to certify youth innovation, and just put the technology in the hands of young people and let them do their magic, let them use their genius, let them disrupt and help the whole ecosystem flourish. Many people ask always, are young people ready to lead? Are young people ready for change? I think the question is for our African and global leaders and business leaders, are you ready and committed to make that happen, to close the digital divide? Because young people are ready. Young people are already innovating. They are already changing Africa's landscape. They have revolutionized the way we use technology. And they are already doing it. They are doing it in this hackathon. So just to end, I think I'm just proud of all the teams and young innovators part of this hackathon. And my message to you is, use your digital superpower, transform this crisis into the greatest opportunity for our generation, and also have fun doing that, because technology can provide that sort of excitement, the hope and humor that we really need in these difficult times. And it can be a really game changer. So shake things up, because the future is young and the future is digital.
Thank you so much, obviously, first of all, for bringing those issues to the table. I think it's been a common theme across the different speakers who joined us here today. And I do appreciate the words of encouragement that you're giving to the teams, and also some words of advice on how to bring solutions and use their inventive power and transformative power to bring forward solutions that are going to bridge that digital divide, that are going to be more inclusive, that are going to make the future of Africa also more inclusive. Perhaps just one question to you. Obviously, Africa being the youngest continent, the youth has a tremendous impact in the future, and COVID did usher in a lot of change. But if you look at the next few years, if you look at the Africa-Europe relations, how do you see it? How do you, as a young activist, how do you see the future?
I see the future is bright, because I think as millennials, the future we want is about freedom. The future we want is borderless. We have just concluded the extraordinary summit on the African free trade area, and that's the future we want. And I think the Mediterranean space also could be that space of exchange. We as a generation can turn that space into an innovative space, into a future that has the skills, the resources, the platforms that we need to transform. And I think also the COVID-19 pandemic has been eye-opening for our generation as well. That this is not the first, and it's not going to be the last pandemic, but living through it, I think we can be better leaders when we occupy those spaces as well, and we can do better job than many of the leaders who unfortunately failed us. We are a generation paying the price of systems that have failed, and I think this is a time where we also can move into an intergenerational co-leadership and an honest conversation that we need to learn from, the other generation's mistakes and failures, so we can be better leaders when we occupy those spaces. So for me, it's exciting. The future for me is exciting, with African youth and European youth transforming our spaces into a global, borderless space of innovation that is equal, that is peaceful, the Africa we want, as we say in Agenda 2063, but also the world we want and the world we want to live in that should be more equal to everyone, and where the space of freedom can allow us to innovate as well. So I'm excited. And again, I just want to say to all the teams that this is our time. This is our time to make a difference as much in every crisis, I think, in history. There are amazing things that happen. And I think this is where we can leave our mark also as a generation.
Thank you so much for joining us in the opening session and for your words. I think they really tie together this opening, because it goes back to what the President of Estonia was talking about, building empathy to the next generation and building solutions that are going to bridge that gap of the digital divide, and try to listen to who you're building to, and then go ahead and build it. So once again, thank you so much for the words of encouragement you are giving to all the participants at this hackathon, and for your continued work towards the youth in Africa. All right, so now we are moving on with the opening session of this big event. I'm joined back here in the studio by Mari Hanekat, the CEO of Garage48. Yes. And Mari, perhaps as we kick off the event proper, as we close this opening session and we get the teams ready to work, let's remind them a little bit about what we're here to do, and a little bit also about what's going to happen during the next 72 hours, both in terms of the hackathon and the teams that are going to be working, but also in terms of the themes they are going to be exploring and some of the panel sessions that we have ready for them.
Yes, let's do that, because I think a little bit of the Facebook Live was initially cut off, so we're here again with the same information we presented before. But yeah, right now we are here to develop your idea into the prototype in the next 72 hours. So this is for all the hackathon participants. We also do have an exciting conference going on with all the 11 topic areas you all at the hackathon are currently tackling as well. So definitely hackathon participants, try to focus on your work, try to make something clickable out of your idea. But if you get a chance, catch the session here or there as well.
Yes, and again, as a reminder to everyone listening on the Facebook, we have gathered an insane collection of hackers. We had 2,000 plus registrations from 93 different countries. Basically, all of Africa, all of Europe is covered. If you're watching us on Facebook, let us know in the comments, where are you watching this from? Which country are you watching us from? Because we really have a global community hacking together for 72 hours. They're going to be working for their projects that are going to be working in teams. The teams are going to be working online. Most of you are already on Slack, where we're going to be working throughout the next 72 hours. We have also assembled an amazing lineup of mentors who are here to support your projects, to make sure that you come out of this hackathon not just with a developed idea, but with a prototype, a clickable prototype in 72 hours that you are able to use to present the work that you've been doing, and to go to your users and say, is this the right direction to go? Those prototypes can be mobile websites, they can be landing pages, they can be something clickable, they can be hardware solutions. Throughout the 11 topics, we have many, many different ideas. So we have 300 teams who are going to compete in those 11 topics. And in the next 3 days, we also have a lineup of panel discussions. We have assembled experts across Europe and Africa who are going to be joining us for 10 different panel discussions. Yes. where we're going to talk about the different topics that we're going to bring forward to the hackathon. All of these sessions are going to be broadcast on Facebook, free of charge for everyone out there listening. And I would like once more to thank all of our community partners, and you can see who they are on our website, euafricathejourney.com. You can see all the community partners for their incredible support in spreading the word, in making sure that we had this many participants, in making sure that we're going to get a lot of action and activity in the next 3 days.
And a lot of support actually after the hackathon as well. Like this is where the community partners actually come in. The hackathon isn't just 72 hours. It's the journey is going to go on after that. And 72 hours, unfortunately, it is not enough to push your to turn your idea into the prototype and then make a working business out of it. So these community partners are going to offer us support and offer you support also after the end of the hackathon.
Yeah, I love that we picked the word journey for what we're doing. You know, this is the beginning of the journey. This is the first step to many of you in your entrepreneurial journey, and also to get us out of this crisis. I mean, you know, we were talking with some of the panelists on how, you know, there's a vaccine on the horizon. You know, it feels like the future is bright. We are coming out of this crisis together. We are ending the year with this event, but it's the beginning of the journey for a lot of the ideas, and the community partners are going to play a fundamental role in supporting some of these ideas. Let's remind also all the viewers at home who put this event together, who's behind this, and all the support we got from the different institutions.
Yes, yes. So it is a truly African-European collaboration. The event was initiated by Estonian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Development Cooperation and got like the strong support from African Union right away. Also, lots of the European partners, development cooperations, ministers of foreign affairs joined all across the Europe, Luxembourg aid, Polish aid, Irish aid, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland, then the European Investment Bank, GIZ, BMZ, and of course, thank you to Smart Africa for helping us to put everything together and for sharing the light and insight on the topics that we picked in the hackathon.
So from us here in the studio for now, that's about it. All the teams who are joining us online on Slack, get ready to start working on your projects. You will have your first checkpoint in about half an hour, if I'm not mistaken by the schedule. So in about half an hour, you will have your first touch point with your lead mentors, with the mentors who are going to follow the progress through a number of checkpoints. Remember, those checkpoints are fundamental and they are crucial in us getting an understanding on what you're working on, what is your problem, what is the solution, and what type of help you need, so that we can get mentors to come in and help your projects. So it is fundamental that you show up for the checkpoints, or at least one person from your team shows up to the checkpoints. Do check the schedule for the hackathon on our website. For everyone else who's not busy with the hackathon, who's not busy building prototypes, we have an incredible lineup of panel speakers in the next couple of days. So check that as well on the conference website, euafricathejourney.com. I can't wait to see what the teams are going to be up to in the next 72 hours. I feel there's a lot of energy, a lot of positive mindset already building up on Slack. And we will see you in the next days for the panel discussions, and we will see you on Sunday for the closing session, where we will look at all the amazing ideas and see who's going to come out of this hackathon as a winner. But as I always like to say, every single team, everyone who's working during the 72 hours, you are already winners, because you made an important decision to work on something that is meaningful and is going to have a tremendous impact on Africa, Europe, and who knows, even the world.
Yes. Very good, very good opening words to kick off the hackathon. A bit sad that I can't be at the hackathon site, like at the online site at the moment. We have been pretty tied up with briefing the panelists and speaking with everybody, but it's also exciting. But good luck for the hackathon teams, and you know, you are the main stars of the show, really.
So we will also be highlighting some of the teams during the hackathon. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, go hack. And for those of you who join us on the panels, we will have the first one tomorrow on education. So see you tomorrow morning. All the teams, get ready for your first checkpoint in about half an hour.